When people say that they believe this silliness about legislating morality, saying you can't legislate morality, that they're ignoring the very nature of legislation itself. Legislation is merely the codification in law of someone's morality. It's simply saying that this is right and this is wrong. If you violate these standards, you'll get in trouble. If you adhere to these standards, you'll be safe. So the whole thing is a logical fallacy. You can't legislate morality? Well then, if you can't legislate morality, you can't legislate. And the Bible says, thou shalt not steal. Whether we believe the Ten Commandments or not, somehow or another in our culture we have adhered to this absolute that taking someone else's property is wrong. Now, we didn't come up with that idea ourselves. It's drawn out of the biblical implications of foundational standards that were the beginnings of the bulwark of our culture. The same thing is true when we come to issues of bodily harm. Thou shalt not kill. It's one of the Ten Commandments. It's not something that the Supreme Court or the framers of the Constitution came up with. Now, there are those who say that there are no moral absolutes. There are those humanists who believe that man is the center of all things, the measure of all things, and that man can decide all things. But that's simply not a possible philosophy. It's not a workable philosophy. There always must be some absolute to which we adhere. We do it, whether we do it consciously or not, in modern America, even with all of the assaults of the humanists. And when we try and stray from those standards, it's inevitable that we get into trouble. It's one of the reasons why there's so much confusion and disarray in our society today. Nobody knows what really is right. Companies don't know what standards to uphold in their hiring practices or in their firing practices. In the end, if you don't adhere to the Ten Commandments, to the standards of the Scriptures, you're going to wind up having a willy-nilly philosophy that's all over the map. G.K. Chesterton said it very well when he said that if a man will not obey the Ten Commandments, he will be forced to obey the 10,000 commandments. We live in a society where we've got thousands of rules and regulations pouring in upon us because we refuse to repair to that one simple, straightforward standard, the standard that God has given us in His law. When the Founding Fathers drew on the biblical standard for absolutism in law, they made statements like that every one of us has a God-given right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In humanist societies, like, say, Nazi Germany, where that standard is removed, there's no place to draw the line between what is and what is not human, what is and what is not an appropriate action for a government to take, what is and what is not proper retribution. You wind up with concentration camps, medical experiments, the destruction and genocide of whole people groups. Ultimately, without absolutes, we are left at the mercy of the strong, the powerful, and the perverse.